guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled No Ma'am, I Most Certainly Do No Shoot for Hoyt. So this story is my dad's, but I was there to witness it. So my dad, 39M, is really into archery. I shoot as well, but I've never been as into it as he is, nor as good. This past week he registered for an archery tournament because it's his dream to be signed by a company and shoot pro. Now here's the source of the confusion. My dad's name is the exact same, like spelling pronunciation everything, as a guy who currently shoots pro for Hoyt Archery, and we live about 2 hours from where that guy is originally from. So this competition has two categories that are relevant. The bow hunter class is the non-pro class where basically it's people who have not had much competitive experience. This is the class my dad registered for. This class is closed to all professional shooters since it is the non-pro class. The other class is called Open Pro, which is open to everyone, but usually contains people with much more competition experience. The day after my dad registered we went over to my grandparents, and on the way there he got a call from the competition organizers. This is the conversation that followed. My dad will be D and the organizers will be Ow. D. Hello? Ow. Hi, is this Dad's name? D. Yes it is, may I ask who I am speaking with? Ow. Yes, my name's Paul from organizer's name, and I wanted to speak with you about a few details regarding your registration to our competition. So I can see that you registered for the bow hunter class, is that correct? D. Yes? Ow. Okay, when I saw that in the last 5 years you're competed professionally at venues such as Vegas and actually in our own arena. Are you aware that we do not allow professional archers to compete in the bow hunter class? I also saw that you're registered with an elite answer and not a Hoyt. Are you also aware that we do not allow pro shooters to shoot with anything but their signed brand? D. Trying to figure out where this missing 5 years of his memory are. Yes, I am aware of that, but I was never at any of those competitions, and I do not shoot professionally. I'm an engineer, not a professional archer. Ow. I am sorry, didn't you say your dad's name? D. Yes, that's me, but I think you're thinking of pro shooter's name, which is the same as mine. Ow. Oh, so you don't shoot professionally for Hoyt Archery? D. No, I do not shoot for Hoyt Archery. Silence for 10 seconds. Ow. Okay, well just forget that this call happened and we'll see you competition day. They hung up and my dad and I had a good laugh, and I have a feeling if he is able to go pro that this may be a running issue. The next story is titled At Least She Was Embarrassed. So, this is a short story about a potential Karen, PK. It's not really as crazy as the other posts. I used to work as a manager at a bakery. I had one of those special manager type shirts with a collar and also wore a name tag. Which is probably where PK got confused. My boss and I went to this bistro next door. We went to the cash register to order a couple coffees to go and we were waiting there, talking. I was leaning against the counter, casually. PK. Excuse me, can I get a coffee? Me. Oh, yeah, sorry. Then I moved out of the way of the register. PK. Aren't you going to help me and take my order? Me, realizing, oh, haha, we don't work here. PK. Really? You're wearing a shirt with the logo of this place. She pointed to my shirt. Me. No, we work next door at business. This point we both show our shirt logos and my name tag, with a logo. Me. See, we don't work here. PK finally looks at the logos and her eyes immediately get wide and she starts apologizing. We tell her it's okay and we understand where the confusion came from. It could have gotten ugly if she wasn't the type to admit her mistake. The next story is titled No, I Can't Get Your Dog, and That's My Husband. Last year, my husband and I had to take our cat to the vet. She stayed overnight for surgery, and when we went to pick her up the next day, the vet's assistant at the front counter said she was listless, but okay, and wouldn't get into her carrier. So they let me go in the back to try to get her in the carrier, while my husband stayed up front and paid. I got her into the carrier, brought her up front and gave it to my husband, saying here she is, seems to be fine, just tired. So I totally understand the confusion, just not the reaction afterward. As my husband and I were trying to soothe our cat before heading out to the car, The next lady in line snapped her fingers at me and said she was there to pick up her dog and could I go in the back and get it? I said, sorry, I don't work here, and the assistant behind the counter had gone somewhere after finishing the transaction with my husband. The lady said, I saw you give that man his cat, now get my dog. It's the, don't remember the kind of dog. Again, I said, sorry, I'm Canadian, it's bred into Maam but not all Canadians, apparently, but I don't work here and that's our cat. She again snapped at me and said, get my dog now. My husband turned to her and said, that's my wife and we are picking up our cat. I'm sure someone will be up here soon to help you. The lady said, don't cover for her, I saw her come from the back with your cat. Are you trying to score with her? It won't work, I don't think a girl like her would go for a guy like you. Now, where is my dog? I took this chance to give my husband the sloppiest kiss I could, saying, you're just my type, wanna go home with me? Just then, as well, a worker came from the back and said she could help the lady. The lady scoffed and said, it's nice that someone here can, your coworker here is getting all over this person and won't get my dog. The vet assistant simply said, ma'am, she doesn't work here, she's just picking up her cat. Then the lady said something that would have set me off if I wasn't so concerned about getting our cat in the car and home. She hates car rides. Well, why didn't she say something then? Had I not been so busy trying to leave and preparing for the car ride ahead, I would have lit into her. The cat is fine, just had a strange growth removed, but learned some colorful words I let out about the lady at the vet's on the ride home. The next story is titled My Driveway is Not Your Guest Parking. I get off work at 11 p.m. and once I got home to find a neighbor's guest parked in my driveway. I thought about calling a tow truck but I was hungry and tired so I blocked them in instead. I eat dinner and fall asleep around 2 a.m. I heard someone pounding on my door around 5 a.m. and yelling about work but I was too tired to care so I ignored it and went back to sleep. If you're going to park in my driveway, you don't move until I feel like you deserve to. I heard more pounding and yelling around 7 and ignored it again. I finally got up at 10 and I guess my neighbor saw me in the kitchen because he came over and started pounding on my door and yelling for me to move my car. Not my fault, your friends are stupid. I ignored him again and continued about my business. I left for work at 2 p.m. and my neighbor started yelling about how I was an idiot for parking where I did and it was my fault his friend was late for work. I'm standing there in scrubs trying to leave for my job at the hospital and I told him that his friend was lucky I didn't have their car towed and if I came home to a car in my driveway again I was calling a tow truck. He got mad and was still standing there when I drove off. The car was gone when I got home and it hasn't happened since. The next story is titled Light-Hearted and Silly. I went to a grocery store that starts with a K and ends with Roger. At this particular store, they have a strict dress code with the blue polo, black pants and the apron. I'm wearing a pair of blue jeans, a Life is Good shirt that says silly with a picture of a goose, a purse across my body and am in the middle of loading my groceries back into my cart. Man with his kid are in the self-checkout next to me. Somehow the kid spills blackberries all over and dad tells the kid to go get a worker. I happen to be turning and look up at this moment. Dad. You work here, right? Me. Starts shaking my head vehemently and push my cart away. That's it. That's my I don't work here story. The next story is titled Karen is shut down by my uniform. It was hot last week. I had some birthday party items to pick up for a work-related function. I was in my summer uniform, shirt, no jacket, and I went to Walmart because they've got a decent party section and fantastic AC. I found my way to the right section and chatted briefly with a sales associate. I started gathering the supplies I needed and putting them in my cart. I pulled one item, and that caused a cascade of everything else behind it to fly onto the floor. My mother always taught me that if you make a mess, clean it up. So I squat down and start putting the stuff I spilled back on the shelf. Then from over my right shoulder, I hear a hem. I kept putting the stock back. Shame on me for not responding. I hear a voice that's somewhere between the caw of a crow and the rasp of a 30-year, 2-pack-a-day smoking habit. I'm talking to you. Stop stocking the shelves and tell me where the art supplies are. I turned my head, and there before me was a vision standing 40-ish, with an asymmetrical haircut, laden with gold-colored jewelry. Colored because there were green marks around her neck, in a pink sports bra and short shorts made of this amazingly strong synthetic knit fabric. She obviously firmly believed one size does indeed fit all, but missed the part about it shouldn't. I said to this woman, one of God's own very special creations, I'm sorry, I'm Canadian, but I don't cut off. You're a manager. Tell me where the art supplies are. I rephrased. I don't work here. Can't help you. She wanted to talk to my boss, and threatened to call corporate to let them know their managers are lying about working there to avoid helping customers. Then she launched into a string of invective worthy of a longshoreman. So I stood up and turned to face her. She was struck dumb. Her mouth was moving but no sound was coming out, and she had gone pale under her shoe leather tan. Now to be fair, I was wearing a light blue shirt and dark gray dress pants. But it's my uniform that made the difference. I have a white-collar type of job. I am the chaplain at a medium security prison, the chaplain for a group of World War II veterans, and the chaplain for a group of Afghan war veterans being treated for post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSS. This last group is the one I was shopping for. You know you've been hanging around military veterans when cursing doesn't even faze you anymore. So, there I was in my light blue shirt with my clerical collar. I asked her, "Do you kiss your children with that potty mouth?" Then I told her that corporate doesn't have a phone, but if she wanted to talk to my boss, she could do so directly on Sunday at the church just a few blocks away from the Walmart. By this time, her vocal cords had recovered, but the only sound coming out was a cross between a squeaky door hinge and a chicken that just laid an egg. I turned and pushed my cart down the aisle toward the checkout. The sales associate I spoke with earlier was just around the corner. Apparently he came back to the aisle to see what the screeching was about and had seen the ending. He was doubled over with silent laughter, holding his sides. All he could do was mouth, "Thank you." And I was off a man on a mission. The next story is titled My Badass Wife. My wife and I are senior citizens. In other words, we are old. My dear wife, DF, is a strong, independent, take no crap from anyone, type of woman. I adore her for it. She keeps me in line, pushes me to be a better man, and is the reason behind my modest success in life. She is sarcastic, is wicked smart, can cuss like a sailor, and as she gets older, her filter is practically non-existent. A few months ago, we decided to treat ourselves. We made reservations and went to a rather high-end restaurant. They had a maître d', sommeliers, highly trained waitstaff, etc. My wife, even though she is in her 70s, has very little gray hair and can pass for 55. She was wearing a very pretty white, lacy blouse, very flattering black pants, and black flats. She looked good. When we arrived, there was no line, surprisingly, and the maître d' had apparently stepped away from the podium where he stands. We were waiting there and my wife was right next to the podium and I had sat down at one of the benches provided by the entrance, when another couple came in. Without missing a beat, the man walked up to the podium and told my wife, "Rockefeller," not the name he used, "we have reservations for two." My wife said that she was sure someone would be with them shortly. The woman huffed a little and the man said, "Please seat us now." My wife told them that she is waiting to be seated, but the man said again, "Seat us now." So my wife said, "Right away, walk this way." She walked away with them behind her as she walked around the partition separating the entrance to the dining area, circled around to the other end and led them back to the entrance and, pointing to the bench, said, "Sit down." The man looked like he was going to blow a gasket, and my wife repeated, "I don't work here, you moron. You wanted me to seat you, so sit the F down." As the couple were sputtering, and before it could escalate future, the maître d' arrived. We gave our name and he led us away. There was no yelling and no threats of police. We had a wonderful meal, overpriced but, oh well, and the other couple was several tables away from us. We didn't interact again with them, but they did shoot us dirty looks now and then. Now, before you say my wife overreacted and could have explained that she didn't work there in a better way, she has a wicked sense of humor and hates idiots. She loves being a smartass and is so good at it. One of the reason that I, after being with her all these years, still love being put in my place by her when I start getting a little too misogynistic. I wanted to post this again because since the original posting, I have lost the love of my life to the current global health crisis. Maybe, someday, I'll be able to post new content about the wonderful woman I was honored to call my wife. I'm just not in the headspace to do so now. The next story is titled I'm Not Robbing This House and I'm Not a Gardener Either. This is my own house. We moved into a new house a few years ago. 2 days after we get settled in, it's a gorgeous day so I'm out tending the garden. If you live in Louisiana, you'll realize that nice days are few and far in between. It's hot and muggy. About 30 minutes after I start, this woman walks beside the house. She compliments my garden and asks how much my services cost. So, I told her, "Ma'am, I don't do services." About this time my husband walks out and puts something into the car. So, all's perfectly fine, right? No. This woman decides to call the police and tell them we are robbing the place. I don't know if her watching my husband caused that thinking as he was pulling stuff out of the house and into the vehicle or what. We were new neighbors, moved in like a few days prior, so you'd think she would have seen us moving. 3 cops show up a few minutes after she left. We didn't know she called the cops. They pull up while both of us are wondering what the hell happened. Maybe someone we knew died or our kid got arrested. Neither. They said we were called in as an active burglar. We had to prove it was ours. She didn't even talk to us about or mention robbery. Although I guess in the moment, she just lost it. People are crazy here. The next story is titled I Hate Clappers. This just happened today. I'm at my local Wally World, Walmart, dressed in my Hawaiian shirt, shorts, and just not looking anything like an employee of Walmart. I am with my cart, grabbing chips and salsa for a gathering I have this evening. A nice gal of about 5 foot nothing asked me to help her get some chips from the upper shelf. Why is it the shelves for the chips are always empty at this Walmart? I, being 6 feet 6, get asked often to grab things from the high shelves. I feel for you vertically challenged folks. So I grab the chips and pass them to her. She thanks me and goes on her way. Then it happens. The huff. I turn and see her. She says, "Now that you're done flirting, where can I find the batteries?" I chuckle and say, "Well, what kind?" She cuts me off and starts clapping. Where? Clap, or clap, the clap batteries, clap. I then say, "I'm sorry, you don't need to clap, I don't work here." She cuts me off again and says, "Don't have me get your manager." Where? Clap, are, clap, the clap batteries. Now I knew what she was asking, but being that I hate clappers, it's the rudest form of communication possible. I say, "They are over in the automotive section. Just talk to one of the service techs out there." She storms off. I continue my shopping when about 5 minutes later, I hear the scream. That's not what I wanted. Where is that a-hole associate? I start grinning. Here it comes. She hunts me down and says, "They only have car batteries there." I wanted small batteries for electronics. I look at her, I smile, and then say, "You clap or clap, not clap specific. Clap." Her mouth drops open, she gasps like I just stole all the oxygen from the area. She then says, "Where is your manager?" Now I work remotely for my company, my manager works in a different state. I say to her, "Likely in St. Louis. As I tried to tell you, lady, I clap don't clap, work, clap, here." I then turn and walk away, while she spews hate and vulgarity in my direction. I am calling it a good day. Don't clap at me. I'm not performing for you. The next story is titled Airline Captain, Bellboy. Late 1980s at Denver Stapleton. I have just commuted in from Houston, my domicile, to pick up a trip originating in Denver. Strolling down the concourse in uniform, my suitcase and chart bag in tow. And a woman loudly says, "Yo, Bellboy, get my bags to gate 34. And she dumps her bags in my vicinity and walks off. I consider them for a moment, and also consider that I am headed for gate 34. Thoughts run through my mind, one of which was that I don't really want this woman on my flight. So I consider my options, ignore the bags and consider my happy stroll to gate 34. At some point the woman realizes that I've ignored her request and comes jogging after me. She begins shrieking. At one point in her tirade she bellowed, "I'm not going to tell you this again." To which I replied, "Oh good. I'm glad you're not going to tell me again, now please stop bothering me." She, of course, pursued me all the way to the gate, curiously leaving her luggage in the middle of the concourse. I was greeted by the gate agent and asked her to unlock the jetway for me so I could get down to the airplane. As she headed for the jetway, shrieking lady grabbed her by the arm and yelled, "You're not going to let that damn bellboy escape. He left my bags. I want him fired." Gate agent smiled happily and said, "Captain? Do you want to deny boarding to this individual?" I replied, "Yes, safety of flight. Irrational. Possibly intoxicated." Gate agent said, "I'll call security. And I'll do the paperwork. Have a nice flight." If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.